It's not even 2026, but Samsung is already gearing up to release the next generation of their A series devices. The A07 is a few days away. The A17 we're already seeing leaks. I'm guessing the competition is not taking it easy. So Samsung needs to fire on all cylinders. So we're going to be looking at the current generation of A series devices. I have them all here. Which one you should buy, which one is the best of the bunch, which one is bottom barrel, and whether you should totally spend your money on something else. So let's get on with it. So I have here the Galaxy A06, the A06 5G, the A16 4G, A16 5G, A26, A36, and A56. That's the complete lineup for the current gen A series devices. Sadly, we did not get to see an A06s for reason best known to Samsung. I guess the A06 5G, which is a new addition, was the replacement for that one. But yeah, which of these devices are the best of the best? We're going to look at each individual device. I have a review on each of them. I'll probably add links in the description so you can watch their detailed review. But this video is going to be focused on each of these devices, the pros and the cons, and whether they are worthy devices for you to spend your money on. First off, all these devices have a couple of things in common. Of course, they're Samsung phones, and they are all on the current latest version of Samsung software, One UI 7. Although depending on the device, you get some features and you lack some features, and we are going to look at them. If you are paying attention to their design detail, you will notice that Samsung from the A26 and above changed the design a bit, and from the A16 and below we have a little bit of the old design. But from the leaks of the A07, we can probably tell that Samsung is going for the newer design, as we can see with the A26, A36, and A56. One more thing all these devices have in common, being Samsung phones. Of course, when you pick them up, you're only going to get the phone and a USB cable, no charging brick. They all support 25 watts minimum charging, and then the A56 and A36 I think support 45 watts charging. They also have the same battery capacity, 5000 milliamp hours. One more thing I have to commend Samsung for is the fact that all of these devices support Good Lock. Although you are not going to find it on the Play Store or the Galaxy Store for all of them, probably only on the A26 and above, but for the others you can easily download it from a third-party source and it is going to work just fine, and it gives you plenty of customization options. So kudos to Samsung for finally making it globally available. Now, if you look at the A series devices, from their design and I guess build quality, you can tell that there is a divide. From the A26 and above is where we have the premium A series, and from the A16 and below is where we have the low budget and anything goes. So I'll start with the A06 4G. It's a decent device. It's currently the most affordable of the A series. The major upgrade it had from the previous generation was the addition of a fingerprint scanner. It maintained the same processor, so it's pretty much the same experience as the last generation. But it's a phone I will only recommend for maybe someone as their first phone, or someone who has a really low budget, but they must use a Samsung phone because I guess you trust the brand. It's an entry-level phone. It's going to get good software support. I think about 2 years. I'll confirm that and add it on the screen. I think it has a good display for 720p LCD, although it still uses that favorite Samsung's U-notch, but it's okay for an entry-level phone. It has really good battery life. It has most of the essential features you will need on the phone. But here's a few things that make me not recommend this device much. It is the bottom barrel of the A series. You just have to go into this knowing that it's an entry-level phone and you are not going to be having any expectations. When I'm saying no expectations, while this is going to get good software support, while it has One UI 7 currently and will likely get the next generation of One UI, it's a device that is going to lag a lot on the software, on the animation, switching between apps, especially when you're running a couple of apps, or if you have it idle for some time, it will take noticeable time to get up to speed. If you must get this device, I don't even recommend going for the 4GB version. It also has 60Hz refresh rate. Most of the competition offer a minimum of 90Hz at this price point. Also, while it has One UI, you are going to find it lacking some basic software features, like it does not have a default screen recorder. Only Samsung does that. But hey, it's a Samsung phone, and bonus points, it has decent cameras for its price. Moving on. The A06 5G, a device not so different from the A06 4G, pretty much the same on all specifications except the fact that this has a better processor and it has 5G. It has the MediaTek Dimensity 6300. It gets IP54 rating, which the 4G version does not get, and it also gets more years of software support. And on the display, it also gets the higher 90Hz refresh rate. So it's an overall better device than the 4G version, but on most other features, they are the same. They have similar software experience. The fact that it has a 90Hz display does not prevent the software from stuttering occasionally, more than occasionally if I'm being honest. The refresh rate is also not consistent while you're operating the device. But one thing this has going for it is the fact that it supports 5G. There are very few or not even any budget phones around its price point that offer 5G support. So I recommend this if you are looking to pick up a 5G device. Again, don't go below the 6GB version. Cameras are also good. The processor here is decent. It will handle basic use. You just have to realize it's an entry-level device. Bonus point for why I also recommend this A06 5G is the fact that the processor it has is the same as you will find on the A16 5G. So it's a good one. I'll actually recommend this one well over the 4G version. So let's move on to the Galaxy A16 4G. This is one interesting device which I think is a good one from Samsung, although it's not significantly different from the A15 4G, being that it runs the same processor, has mostly the same specifications. It's pretty much an incremental upgrade, but it's a solid mid-ranger that I always recommend for someone who wants something on a budget that can do well on multitasking, can game decently on a budget. Yes, there is still the occasional One UI lag, but it's only occasional, and I doubt you are going to have any issues with it. It's one of the most consistent of the A series, and to tell you the truth, I even recommend it more than the 5G version. Based on my experience with it and combining the experience of those who currently use it that I recommended it for, it's a pretty solid device. Some of the things I am not happy with is the fact that Samsung is still maintaining the U-notch for this device. Samsung also removed the headphone jack. Not cool. Plus the fact that it's still lacking a couple of software features like the default screen recorder. You have to use a third-party application. As with the other devices, I'll also recommend going for the minimum of the 6GB version. One UI can be very annoying when you use it on a 4GB RAM phone and when it's giving you those lags. But yeah, the A16 4G is a solid device and it's one I always recommend. I should also mention that the cameras perform better than most of the competition around the same price point. And if you fancy software updates, this is one of those devices Samsung promised 6 years of OS upgrades. Although I will still question the possibility of these devices lasting that long and being able to handle 6 more years of support, but I guess if you are picking it up 6 years from now, it should be on current updated software. On its display, as long as you can look past that U-notch, it's a very good looking AMOLED display, 1080p, 90Hz refresh rate, solid. But for an AMOLED display, it does not have always on display, so there's that. But yes, the Galaxy A16 4G is a recommendable device, even more recommendable than the 5G version. It is more consistent with performance. So which brings us to the A16 5G. Having the MediaTek Dimensity 6300, it's pretty much the A16 4G but with 5G. The features, they are all the same. The software, everything is the same. This just offers 5G. As a matter of fact, I'll say the MediaTek Dimensity 6300 is the G99 plus 5G. So it doesn't offer any noticeable boost in performance, just gives you 5G. But I don't recommend this much because this phone lags based on my experience with it. Probably due to the fact that for this region we only got the 4GB version. But I can tell you for a fact the A16 4G gave me a more consistent performance. It had snappier software than this. But one fact we can't deny is that if you want 5G, the A16 5G is the only decent device around this price point. Only Samsung offers something decent. So that's the A16 5G. Same as the A16 4G, but with 5G. Now that brings us to the Galaxy A26. Also an A-series device I recommend a lot because for its price point, this easily offers the best processor performance. It costs just over $200. It's a device I'd like to see at the midpoint between the higher and the lower A series. This is where you start to see some premium features. It gets Gorilla Glass Victus Plus on the display and the rear. So it's among the most premium built smartphones. It looks classy too, although when you turn to the front, you'll notice the U-notch is still there, but it's a good phone. The Exynos 1380 powering this device, I believe, is the same we found on the Galaxy A54, so it brings that level of performance. And like I said before, compared to most devices around this price point, it's the best performing processor. I think other devices get the Helio G99, G100, and I think most recently the G200, but those devices still cannot go head to head in performance with the Exynos 1380. feel free to correct me. It will give you decent gaming performance. It's good on multitasking. The cameras also perform great. Thankfully, Samsung still maintained the SD card slot with this one, although no headphone jack. It gets proper IP67 rating for water and dust resistance. The refresh rate here is 120 Hz. And it's a pretty solid device, which is also consistent in performance for the most part. It's the A series device you pick when you don't want the below par performance of the lower A series and you don't want to spend so much getting the higher A series. This is also where you start to see some Galaxy AI features, the likes of circle to search, some object eraser, though not on the level of flagships, but decent Galaxy AI features. You have them here. Also with 6 years of software updates. Yes, it still gets the occasional One UI lag. It's something you're going to hear me say a lot with all of the A series devices, but it's not that bad. Also, one thing I like about it is that it shoots 4K 30 FPS from its rear cameras. Most of the phones around this price point cannot do that. A few of the things you might not be happy with on the A26, I've probably mentioned them before: the U-notch, lack of a headphone jack, and for some reason, Samsung used a mono speaker here. The A25 had stereo speakers. Also, the virtual proximity sensor here sometimes acts up, so you could be on a call and the screen comes up and your chick is having fun games with the dial pad. There is also no always on display here, but all in all, the Galaxy A26 5G is a recommendable device and I actually like this one. Now moving to the Galaxy A36, we're starting to see the more premium features, the more premium Galaxy A series. This is also a solid one. As a matter of fact, the only Snapdragon among the A series of this generation, Snapdragon 6 Gen 3. And also I think the first proper Snapdragon powered A series device since the Galaxy A73. The A05s does not count. So the A36 is in mid-range territory. Performance-wise, it is a solid device. It has good display, it has good build quality, it has really good cameras too. And it's a device you can pick up for about $300, or if you check well on Amazon, you will find it for a little less. Here in Nigeria, it costs about 479,000 for the base version. Thanks to the Snapdragon processor, you are going to get improved GPU performance while gaming. I'm talking high graphics games like PUBG, Call of Duty Mobile. You can play these games at high graphics and really good frame rates. It also has the same Gorilla Glass Victus Plus you get with the A26 and the A56, and then it has eSIM support. Most phones around this price point do not get that feature. The overall user experience is great. You get the same Galaxy AI features as we saw with the A26, and from here we also see higher charging speed, that is 45 watts. The battery life is decent for 5000 mAh. The A36 does not have many proper disadvantages. It's one for the Snapdragon faithfuls, but if I'm to mention a few, the lack of SD card slots, and then on the always on display there's a little bit awkward placement, but these are not deal breakers. Another thing you will notice with the A36 is that it gets really hot while charging, whether the phone is off or on. It's just something I experienced while using it. But now we are going to go to the best of the best, top of the food chain, the Galaxy A56. It has the most premium build, aluminum frame, Exynos 1580 processor, so top of the line performance. Although on that performance, it doesn't have the best processor on a mid-range phone, especially around this price point, but it offers one of the most balanced experiences you can find on a Samsung A series device. It has really good cameras compared to other mid-range devices around this price point. You'll probably find the best camera performance here, although it lacked a telephoto camera, which I think would have made this device a real solid one. Now the A56, initially when it launched, it had a couple of optimization problems with some games, but now it fares much better while using it for gaming. So it's also a solid gaming device, although again not the best gaming device at its price point, because we have devices running the Dimensity 8400. I'm talking about the Poco X7 Pro, and then we have the likes of Tecno and Infinix offering devices with Dimensity 8350. So if you're in it for strictly the gaming performance, you might want to look at those. This offers more of a balanced performance on the software, on the hardware, on the overall user experience. The multitasking here is great. Yes, you will still see some of those occasional One UI lags, but it's only maybe you've left the phone idle for a little bit, and once you start operating it, give it a few seconds, maybe 30 seconds, and it will be as responsive as you want it to be. So a while ago, I probably would have said the A56 still needed some optimizations, but I think Samsung has done a pretty good job with the software. This is the closest to a Samsung flagship experience you will get if you are not considering used older flagship. Speaking of which, for the price of this phone, you'll probably get a solid deal for maybe a Galaxy S23, which will probably offer you way better camera performance, but as far as new phones go, this offers way more software updates than most, and as I said before, it offers the best experience of all of Samsung's A series devices. So a quick recap, all of these devices are okay in their own right. The A06 4G, I don't recommend unless you are getting something for someone as their first phone, or unless you are getting it with like really low expectations on its performance because you're going to experience significant lags while using it. The A06 5G is an okay device. I actually recommend it over the 4G version, and it has a much better processor and it offers 5G, probably the only proper 5G phone you find around its price. But it's good. If you're not looking for 5G though, there are other options from the competition with better specifications. The A16 4G, solid device as well. The A16 5G, pretty much the same as the A16 4G, except that it offers 5G. And as I said, the 4G version is more consistent than the 5G version. But if you must use 5G, I guess it's okay. The A26 easily offers the best performance around its price point with 5G support. You start to see some of the premium features on the A series. I'm talking build quality, software, and the overall user experience. And lest I forget, from the A16 and below, you start to see them lacking in some basic software features like a default screen recorder, no always on display. The A36, solid device as well, the only one with Snapdragon among the bunch, solid build quality, solid cameras, good device for its price, highly recommendable as well. And then the A56, which we just finished talking about. All of these are good devices except a few, and I'm looking forward to see what Samsung has to offer for the next generation. The A07 is coming soon, and as soon as I get my hands on it, I'll do a review and then we'll wait for the A17. It will be interesting to see what Samsung has up their sleeves, especially for the lower A series. I'll say the pressure is on them. You should really see what Tecno and Infinix have already brought out for the same budget category. So I guess catch you in the next one. Peace out.